I'm just trying to get the title. What's that last song called?
That was called Get Along Better.
It'd make a better title, sort of Better Get Along, I'd say.
Do you remember a band called Good Shirt?
I do indeed.
Yeah,
yes.
that's Gareth Thomas, who was the lead singer from Good Shirt.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. I know. I always enjoy the little bit I hear down the phone each week.
Yeah.
And what's happened since last week? Wait on. Oh, yeah. Actually, an idea came to me last week.
Yeah.
And this is something not for the weekend. This is the last weekend. I was flying down on a direct flight from Whangarei to Wellington, not stopping in Auckland, but flying in one of those smaller planes, the ones where the wheels don't always come down. You sometimes got to climb out and get the wheels down. And I had one of those, you move around a bit, sometimes you have pretty ordinary flights where you don't see an awful lot, and so many monsters in front in your face, and it's awful.
Yeah.
And other times, of course, you have a wonderful flight, which is what I had last from Whangarei down. It was just bloody marvellous. I was thinking as we flew down, because the beauty of it was, being one of those small planes, they don't go all that high.
Mm.
And although there was a bit of cloud cover across the North Island, sound a bit like Jim Hickey there.
Doing your weather report here on Kiwi.
Weather report. At various times, we're looking so much across and over, especially the bottom part of the North Island. And I thought, my God, one of these days I'd love to do an anthology. It wouldn't always have to be in a book, because there won't be any bookshops to sell the book in.
Oh, that's news, isn't it?
That's news, all right.
Yeah.
I don't know how many publishers will go under because of that. It's the flow-on, as they say, the flow-on effect. But anyway, getting back to this, I thought, should a book of working your way through New Zealand by the poems that people have written there,
Mm.
I was looking across one part, and I could see from the plane. I'd got the pilot to double back so I could have another look.
Did it circle around?
Circle around a bit, stick on the roundabout, and we were looking over a farm. I'll tell you the poem. I don't know if I've ever said this particular poem on the radio, but in this context, we came across the Rangitikei.
Mm.
Well, we're out over the Tasman, but looking at it at almost like a 45-degree angle, and I could see the farmhouse high up in a place called Rewa, above the Rangitikei River.
Cool.
I know that it's like a living geography lesson, but it's much more than that. It's like a living poem. And I'll tell you that little poem, but I also, my one that's what I wrote, but I wrote it for my old friend who farmed there. He's dead now, and in fact his heading dog, Mate, I adopted, and Mate was my dog until he died when he was 16. And here's a poem to that part of this amazing land. It's called Rangitikei River Song. A man can only find himself when lost, such country this, where all men are lonely, plateau hawk and river mist, country where a man at last might lose himself, an end of talk, find that gaunt-faced other man who stalks these ridges, plateau, river mist and hawk, no longer keeping eye for crumbling edges, lovers, or the weather, listening rather to the river, hawk and high plateau, river mist below. And it's just another ordinary old day flying in New Zealand. Bloody marvellous,
Yeah.
And then looking further out to the east, I could see, and I'm continuing my little theme here, if that's okay, because I reckon it's going to be a really nice anthology, even if I put the odd poem of my own in.
Just while you're talking about that, it just makes me think that that so many people take this whole flying thing for granted. Like it'll just hop on, because they do it every day or they're commuting or whatever. But every time I get on, it's an amazing thing.
I agree. I agree completely. These people who... I remember as a kid and as a young person, early times when I remember when I was about 20 and being paid to actually go and fly on an aeroplane to go to do some poems somewhere, And It was always like that. It was this living geography lesson, and this, I remember one time flying from Taupo years ago, from Taupo down to Wellington. I was living then at Bottle Creek, and I was able to fly across my place, and I saw some kids who were always causing a bit of trouble with the boats, and I was looking down, and I could see these kids were on board a boat that belonged to a friend of mine. So when I got back, I kicked the shit. I didn't kick the shit out of it, but you know what I mean? I told them keep their distance. They were little spoiled brats from the rich big houses up on the hill, which would come down and wreck the boat sheds and things like that. It was great fun.
And I always remember the first time looking out the window and actually going, oh look, I can see the map of New Zealand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in particular, it was very stark at the top of the South Island where you see Farewell Spit.
Oh yeah.
Go out there and you go, oh look, it's the map.
Yep. It is. It's a living map, and when you see Farewell Spit, one really great view on one of the regular flights that you get of that, of course, is going Auckland to Christchurch. You know, you cut right out over, right out across Admiralty Bay and Stevens Island, D'Urville Island, and of course Farewell Spit reaches up onto the same latitude. I think it reaches up to the same latitude as Foxton.
Oh, really? Does it go that high?
Yeah,
I suppose it does.
It reaches. If you look, and of course you're flying over there. You get the whole impact, and then looking out further east there, I was looking at Akatio. I could spot Akatio. I could spot Cape Turnagain.
Yeah.
Which next day, with the Waratahs, we did live to a lovely audience in the South Wairarapa. We did Cape Turnagain, which I did my poem Naming the Gods with, and that was just lovely. In fact, when I was over at that big party on Saturday, which is where we were performing, and the Waratahs have never sounded better. Bloody good. Very good to be working with them again. And beautiful big, one of these great old homesteads where this party was being held.
Yeah.
I thought of a line of Baxter's from a Zakatio poem, actually, came to mind, that great line talking about, he's talked about the girl with a necklace of marco teeth they dug from a sand cliff facing south, and all those lines. Then he comes in, squire arch, straight-backed rider built, an ethos of the leisured life, lawn, antlered hall and billiard room, glass candelabra brought from Paris, the homestead founded among fields, unhorsed they sleep. Beautiful. Let me go on with that, just a few lines. This is Zakatio, just this one drowned at the cattle crossing, who tossed and kicked, one tossed and kicked by a bucking horse, who died without confession, wanting no wafer in their teeth. Does the toy plume their altar? Are they held safe in the sea's grail? This gullied mounded earth, tunned with silence, and the sun's gaze on a choir of breakers has outgrown the pain of love. Drink, traveller, at these bitter springs. And it goes on and just ends up. Pluck then from ledges of the sea, crayfish for the sack. Not now but later, think what you were born for. Drink, child, of the springs of sleep. Bloody lovely.
Brilliant, yeah.
And then over to this, and another thing, not just New Zealand poems, it's funny, but when I was doing my show over there at Tablelands, where this performance and party was, where we were performing, and I did a poem of Yeats's, which I've loved for a long time, and it wasn't sort of a case of bringing it back home, because the poem actually comes from Ireland. When I did that poem, and these beautiful lawns, I mean, it's all stuff out, but these wonderful lawns, I've got, tennis courts, bloody river, then the mountains take over. It was like bringing. I'll say the poem. It was like bringing it to its New Zealand home, to its right and grand place. And so this is bringing Yeats home, if you like. Collarbone of a hare. Would I could cast a sail on the water, where many a king has gone and many a king's daughter, and alight at the comely trees in the lawn, the playing of pipes and the dancing, and learn that the best thing is to change my love while dancing and trade but a kiss for a kiss. I would find by the edge of that water the collarbone of a hare, worn thin by the lapping of water, and pierce it through with a gimlet and stare at the old bitter world where they marry in churches and laugh over the untroubled waters at all who marry in churches through the white thin bone of a hare. Yeah.
Nice.
It did feel like that for me anyway. It almost felt I was going to say a religious experience. It felt a deeply, dare I say, poetic experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good, and that's just going to work for a day or two. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's
it's
inspiring.
And then when I got back, Whammo, to the Whangarei airport, I had a flat tire in my truck.
Oh.
brings you back.
Straight back to earth.
See what else brought me back to earth, but we could talk about that next week. Picked up I've been sent an anthology. Auckland University Press. They have a series of new poets. I think usually containing three. Each book containing three. This one, number 4 in the series, contains 3 poets. And We'll talk about it next week, but. It's a worry what some of the stuff that's coming, some of the poets, so-called poets who are coming out of some of these writing schools. Two of these 3 poets have got MAs in creative writing.
Yeah.
I mean, MAs in creative writing? I mean, you get MAs for having a dream. I got a PhD in dreams, call me Dr. Hunt.
I got a MA in talking on the radio.
Hey, you got more than an MA in talking on the radio, Dr. Whammo. Well, hey, look, I'll talk to you next week, eh?
I look forward to that. Yeah, we'll hear about that.
And thanks, Whammo. All the best to you.
See you too. See ya.
See ya.
That was a little something for the weekend with Sam Hunt, only on Kiwi.